And welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. Bob Lee. Hey, check this out. On June the 10th, everybody, you'll have an opportunity to travel the old Bronx River Parkway. Now, we're going to take you on a serious tour here. Joining us with all the details, we have tour guide Stephen DeVillo. Stephen, you've been in this for a while, and you wrote a book on the Bronx and the Bronx River and that whole area. Give us a little history of the Bronx River, first of all.
Indeed. Well, Bronx River has a very, very long, very fascinating texture of history and folklore and community involvement. In my book, I go back literally to the last day of the glaciers.
Oh!
It's a very, very long story, but right up to the present day, and the history is still continuing. This is not a finished task. The transformation of the river is still taking place with the help of the communities of people who live along it. It's very much a volunteer effort.
But it was also a borderline between two Indian nations way back.
Indeed, at one time, repeatedly. You had, the Lenni Lenape people were living west of the Bronx River, and east of the Bronx River, you had a totally different group of people, the Sewanoi. They were related to Indians in Connecticut. And legend has it that the river itself was the borderline between the two. I cast a little bit of doubt on this story, but it's a great tradition. It's been handed down for a long time.
And then the river was also a borderline between the Bronx and Westchester at one time.
Indeed, yes. In 1874, the city annexed what today is the Bronx west of the Bronx River. And it wasn't until 1895 that they took the rest, going to the east. So for a long time, and this led to some interesting situations as well. We had the rivers between the two sets of laws, particularly two sets of Sunday laws, and you had a lot of shenanigans going on along the river.
What stands out in your mind? I mean, in digging up all this great historical information about the Bronx, of course, there's a lot of things that you could talk about, but what stands out in your mind about this wonderful borough?
Well, for one thing, we have this tremendous natural resource running right through the middle of the borough. And I still meet people who are really not aware of it, or perhaps only slightly aware of it. And it's a natural resource that owes a lot to the transformative efforts of people who have been working to preserve it and revitalize it. And today you can use it. It's good for walking, bicycling. They take a canoe trip down the Bronx River.
That's what I did.
I would strongly recommend that. Give you a totally different view of the Bronx. So it's definitely worth exploring, worth getting to know.
And they cleaned up that area a whole lot. I mean, factories used to dump into it. They cleaned up the river, and you have some nice views along the way.
Towns used to dump their sewerage into the river. Basically, that was what the Bronx River Parkway, the original Parkway in 1925, was, believe it or not, an effort to restore the Bronx River. Now, we think of the Bronx River Parkway today, and I get a lot of strange looks when I tell people this story. But I tell them, no, 1925, this was not a transportation artery. It was a leisure drive. It went really from nowhere to nowhere. It went from the Kensico Dam Plaza up north of White Plains. You could drive up there, and there's a pretty red brick road that will take you up to the top of the Kensico Dam.
Wow. And
at the southern end, it terminated what was then the northern entrance to the Botanical Garden, about where Burke Avenue or the Rosewood Playground is today. And you could continue on, drive right through the Botanical Garden, exit the southern gate, go across Fordham Road, enter the north gate of the Bronx Zoo, and finally park your car there at the Rockefeller Fountain and then go see the elephants.
There you go.
But it was not a transportation artery. It was only in 1950 when Robert Moses came on the scene that he decided to transform this into a true 6-lane in the Bronx transportation artery that today terminates down in Soundview.
Robert Moses did a whole lot. A lot of transformations going on.
Quite a few.
So the Bronx River extends from where to where?
Today it extends from the Kensico Reservoir. The original sources of the river are actually underneath the reservoir.
And so it's underground first?
Well, it's underwater.
Underwater.
The original sources. But the interesting thing is these springs are still flowing underneath the Kensico Reservoir. And the Kensico Reservoir supplies, I think, something like 95% of the drinking water in New York City. So I love telling people this. Every time you draw a glass of tap water in New York City, about maybe 3% of it is Bronx River water. Well, I get strange looks when I tell them. This is the fact. And it continues on, and it empties into the, you call it either the East River or Long Island Sound, between Hunts Point and Soundview.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and it's a saltwater estuary up to about roughly West Farms
Yeah,
today.
yeah. Wow.
So it's all of 23 miles long, but it's packed with a lot of history and folklore and
That's great.
human interest stories.
So we should pick up the book. What's the name of the book?
The Bronx River in History and Folklore.
That's great.
Yes.
Now, you have something coming up also. Tell us about it.
Oh, the walk, yes. The Bronx River Alliance sponsors a series of what are called the Bronx River Rambles. And these are free, no reservations required, walking tours. More often than not, I'm the tour guide, so you get to hear me go on at much greater length than you will today.
Okay.
And you just look on the website, bronxriver.org. It'll give you, the time and the meeting date, and just be there. Just show up if you feel like it. And each month we take a different section of the Bronx River, and we don't try to do the whole thing at one time. That would not be really possible. But we explore, the history, the ecology, the folklore, the legends, the ongoing transformative efforts along the river.
Yeah.
And just have a good time.
Yeah.
So coming up this Saturday, June 10th, I'm taking people on a walk up through what today is called Shoelace Park, past Williams Bridge and Wakefield, and exploring what's an abandoned stretch of the old Parkway. Next month, July 15th, we're going to be down at Starlight Park, the newly renovated Starlight Park.
Yeah.
We're going to celebrate the opening of Bronx River House, which will be the headquarters of the Bronx River Alliance. And I've got some truly astonishing tales to tell about that parkland. It's a very long and raucous history of a lost amusement park.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah, and quite a few other things too. It's a rather interesting patch
Can you
of
give us
ground.
a quick a hint of what it is? Or we can wait until we get on the tour.
Yeah, no, I'll give you a hint. Well, at one time, Starlight Park was an amusement park, which was actually planned to be a World's Fair. That didn't quite happen, partly because they tried to do this in the middle of World War I. Not a good time for a World's Fair, but they turned it into an amusement park.
As in the 30s, right?
It died out in the 30s. 37, it went bankrupt. But in its day, it had a big, huge saltwater pool with a artificial sand beach and a wave-making machine, just like Palisades Amusement Park. Double-track roller coaster and rides and attractions and dance hall. It was a great place, and they had open-air opera and a lot of other things going on. It was quite the destination to be in its day.
Yeah.
It's got an even more interesting prehistory to it as well, which I won't try to get into.
So we'll talk about more on the tour. Again, that tour
Absolutely.
is Saturday.
You'll
This
hear
coming Saturday, right?
This Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Saturday is Shoelace Park, and then July 15th will be Starlight Park.
All right. And where can we go for more information? BronxRiver.org?
Yes.
And all of that information that you spoke about is up. It's up
Yeah,
there.
it'll give all the information, and plus everything else the Bronx River Alliance is doing. They have canoe trips. Take a canoe trip on the river. But there's also a lot of volunteer activities too, revitalization activities, water monitoring, erosion control. So there's a lot of opportunities that you can be part of this ongoing transformation and preservation.
A lot of cleanup
of the
still
river.
going on.
Yeah, the history that is still happening underneath our feet, so to
All
speak.
right. BronxRiver.org. Thank you so much.
Well, thank
Stephen
you, sir.
DeVillo, volunteer
My
tour
pleasure.
guide,
Thank you.
Bronx River Alliance. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You got to come back and share more. I mean, you
Be
can
my
go on
pleasure.
and on. You need
Absolutely.
a whole show to yourself, right?
Anytime.
Stick around. We have to take a quick break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Open next.